Well, well, well. My video for May the 9th, 2018 is entitled The Religion and Politics of Denial. I was all set up to record with my friend Aristo. However, something came up on his end and we have to wait another day. Anyway, what comes to mind for me now is a subject I've covered before. Many of my self-proclaimed spiritual friends don't want to talk about anything political. For that matter, they seem to refuse religion as well. Yes, I've gone round and round on this. Those are the only two subjects worth talking about, since they affect virtually everything in our lives. Those are the topics where we as humans get our spiritual legs knocked out from under us. We become crippled if we cannot explore the reasons why we are in the mess we seem to be in at this time in human history. No, it's not new. I agree. We have been and still are enslaved by the fake money system I keep harping on so often. That's the reason we cannot talk politics or religion. It makes those issues supposedly irrelevant. Yet those who do not want them discussed, especially in open forums, have a good reason from their point of view. If we could see how we are controlled, we could actually awaken and stop the insanity. Will that happen? Maybe it is happening. I sure hope so. Indeed, I just hurriedly wrote that blurb and I didn't really get a chance to even think it through or to prepare any thoughts like I usually do when I create my videos. And the sun is starting to come up, and when it gets up above the horizon much, it gets too bright in here and it makes it more difficult to, I have to take precautions to keep the sun from glaring in my face. It's just starting above the horizon now as I begin recording this. And I sat here for over an hour waiting for Aristo before he let me know that he was going to be unable to record with me today. So, as I said, I've discussed this denial thing in numerous videos over the course of time. And it is something that is very troubling to me because I see so many people that are good people and want to have a positive world. I really believe they do. They want to do the right thing, but they don't want to face the issues. And I've seen it again and again and again. I've seen it in my spiritual communities. My spiritual community keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking because so many people in those communities put things off limits that are essential for our well-being. Folks, it's the money system that controls both religion and politics. I want you to understand that. I want you to see that it's through the money system that we have been and are still enslaved. And if we're going to ever get out of that bondage, that enslavement, we're going to have to deal with the issues that have been infiltrated with, mixed with lies, truths mixed with lies. It's not that there's no truth in religion. It's not even that there's no truth in among some members in the spiritual or political community. There is truth everywhere, but it's always surrounded by a network of untruths that nullify the effectiveness of the truth. There's this old saying of Jesus, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And of course, as I said before, and as others have said, it'll first piss you off. We have been lied to, folks. When are we going to get our heads around that, and more importantly, our hearts around that, to get beyond the idea that we have the right answer? I don't have the right answers other than to love one another, other than to be open and to discuss things honestly, to discuss where we're different, not argue and butt heads, but actually talk about the ideas that we think are so important. And if it comes right down to it, as I see it, we will recognize if we sit down and talk to each other that we're not as different as we think we are. The differences are focused on and expanded, and they become the impediment to our growth because we cut ourselves off. We do it again and again and again. And it's an easy thing to fall into because we don't want to deal with what we don't want to deal with. We call it negative, but it's not. It's not negative to discuss these things. I mean, I've had to pull away just within the past few weeks from people that I really care about, people that have had an influence in my life. I've had to pull away from their groups because they don't want negative conversation. And they consider politics, especially, to be negative. And even religion, many of them consider to be impediments to cooperation. And we have to learn to cooperate, or we're going to continue to butt heads and have wars and steal from each other to try to survive ourselves because we think, well, I've got to get more money and I've got to do whatever I have to do to get the money. And so we take jobs where we're paid to do things that harm others. And we try to shut that off and block it out with drugs and other things that we use to hide ourselves from the reality that we are at least partially responsible for the world in which we live. I'm not saying we're totally responsible because we have been deceived, but we have embraced the deception by far and large all too often and willingly embraced it and not bucked the system and not stood up and said, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to allow you to put me in a box that keeps me from being able to explore and to think for myself and to consider other points of view. That's what I've been trying to do for me my whole life. It's why I built bridges in religious communities, why now I'm a Hindu and a Buddhist. But am I either? No, I'm neither. And neither am I a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim, though I've tried to build bridges to those groups as well. I've really put forth an effort throughout my life that's demonstrable to anybody that looks at it. Because if we can't communicate with each other, if we can't open ourselves up to being able to share our experience and the ideas that we've gleaned as a result of that experience, then we have no place to go. We have no way to get out of the conundrum in which we find ourselves. And we will continue to be imprisoned in our own minds and have our lives thwarted so that we cannot be fulfilled as human beings. Why is this so hard for so many to get? Well, I know the answer. It's because we've been brainwashed. We've been told, don't go there. Don't talk about those subjects, because if we start exploring them, we will discover the lie. And that will upset the entire apple cart and the entire plan of the elite establishment, which, as I've said before, is demonic in nature. They do not have your best interests at heart, nor mine, nor humanity's. They are control freaks. And we've got to discover the control freak in each one of us and heal it so that we can rise above it and create a world that works for everyone, to everyone's benefit. Anyway, that's all I have to share today, and I hope it came out okay. Thank you for listening, and namaste.